Aloha. Thank you for joining me for Java. It's Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. We've got a short trading week, but a lot going on. So let's go right into the markets and hopefully you had a nice, restful weekend. So with this, we'll start with our indicators. Main one, the MMRI, hovering around the 290 level right now. So on market close on Friday, started pulling back. It was part of what Kashkari was speaking. We've got fear greed right now in the neutral territory. So with these, we're watching the underlying 10-year yield as well as relative strength of the dollar. So the relative dollar strength has kind of dropped a bit and it could gain some strength today. If it does, could put pressure on the market. So another thing we're looking at is in cryptocurrencies. It did recover a bit. We are looking at basically with our markets green on open. We've got both stocks and the futures are looking green, set for gains on open, but the other markets were weak on the overnight. So the European market currently open as well as the markets in Asia both pulling back just a bit. So with this, we've also had weak oil markets lately, but they are increasing and rebounding because OPEC Plus is again basically committing to keeping the supply low. So if they're cutting their output, that's positive for oil on the price. And we'll keep an eye on that as well because oil is a good forward looking inflationary measure. So we've got Kashkari came out and he said the Fed has no reason to hurry with the rate cuts. So that's basically what the market is going on, the free money from the Fed, because the real economy is in high damage mode at the moment. So if the Fed is not going to cut and give easy money, then that's going to put a lot of pressure on the markets. So with this, today is the day that the SEC's T+1 settlement rule, what does it mean? It means rapid settlement for the trades. And the issue with that is that it could cause a lot of failed trades or other technical or quote unquote technical issues with the market. They could use this as a scapegoat, basically. But they've also got the plunge protection team in place to make sure that markets can't go anywhere. So this market, highly managed, if you haven't figured that out by now, if you're a trader, but we trade what we're given, and there's still quite a bit to be made. So with that, let's go into the calendar and the earnings. This is the last trading week of May, short week. So mostly not a lot as far as reports until Friday. We're looking at the big inflation reports. Until then, pretty much it's going to be managed by all of the Fed speakers coming out. The other thing really that I'm watching is more important than the stock market is the debt market. So we've got some bond auctions coming out later on today. And I've got one more indicator, so to speak. It's completely unofficial. However, in the cryptocurrency space, we've got basically what equivocates to commodities in the real markets. And those are the stables, basically. And then we've also got the meme stocks, and that's meme coins going up with this since they're dominating the interest at the moment in these charts. They're taking some of the top spots that basically says historically that bubble territory, in effect, up bubble territory. So we've got these are the earnings we're expecting for Tuesday and Wednesday. So let's go into some of what's going on with the economy and the stories behind it. So we've got Russia producing their grain. They've got issues with basically sub-zero snap in temperatures. So it's going to hit their production. So they are revising down on their forecast for their yields on their grain. And they're one of the larger producers. It's also a large part of the skirmishes, whatever you will, that are going on in Ukraine. They're basically a breadbasket for that territory area. They produce a good portion of the food there. So with this, it will also like to mention the Iran European Union trade. So with all of the sanctions going on, all of these issues, quote unquote, whatever you want to call them with Iran, the proxy wars, what's going on, the truth behind this is the European Union still needs Russia and Iran, and they're getting a great deal of their trade out of them. In fact, it rose 8% despite all of the sanctions. So, with this, just taking a look into the currencies, the currency wars that are going on, the inflation and the central banks. So, we have a very good example going on right now. The pound nearing multi-year highs as traders are turning bullish on this currency. So with this, they're saying UK shop inflation back to normal as election draws near. Well, if your currency gets strong, that is the counter to inflation. Basically, that means you can afford more goods with your dollar. So it's two ways to say the same thing, but basically, it's an election year. So they're pushing this. We're going to watch this happen also in the United States. We'll be looking for a temporarily strong US dollar. And then we've got the euro. So the ECB saying consumer inflation expectations pulled back in April. So you have to keep them all relatively stable to each other in this Western world. So we've got the pound, the euro, and the US dollar will all keep relatively stable in their strength. What does that mean looking forward? If you know the US dollar is going to gain a bit of strength, inflation will pull back, but that also means pressure on the stock markets. So, little keys and little cues that you can look in the macro market that will have an effect. What we're watching going forward a little bit, we've got basically in the Asian sector, China launching now $47 billion in a super chip fund. So this was after South Korea unveiled a record $19 billion package to support their chip industry. So this was a little while back, a few days ago. So we've got South Korea, and now China just basically announced they're launching their super chip fund. We've got them in a major talk, basically China, South Korea, and also Japan. So they're speaking at their three-way summit at the moment and talking about how the three countries should basically view each other as partners and opportunities for development. So why is this a shock? Because typically South Korea and Japan trading partners directly with the United States, and we're watching a slight realignment. We've got weakness with the Japanese yen, and we've also got the threats on South Korea. So this is giving China quite a bit of clout with these two areas. So it is an area of concern for the United States in several areas. And they're just not putting this in mainstream media, but it's a definite worry for the United States in particular and the Western economy. So we're watching these alliances as they shift. So watching behind the real economy, we've got the currency wars going on. And what is driving a lot of the real production is the physical wars. So they're going to start putting out these stories because they need to bolster this again. But as they do, they're shifting where the war dollars are going. So we've got the world on brink as Putin's next three countries to invade are revealed, in air quotes, by a Russian general. So they're fueling this again, that there is going to be a need to go against Russia. Why is this? Because they're very quiet about this. But over the past 3 weeks, they've been dropping United States military under the guise of NATO in Ukraine and on the borders of Russia. So building that up. And along with this, we've also got the UN court order demanding Israel halting the Gaza offensive because of what happened with a strike on them over this weekend. So this allows them to pull the dollars from Israel and focus it back towards Ukraine, and against big bad boy at the moment is Russia. So we've got Zelensky saying Ukraine has taken back control in certain areas and that they've got aerial attacks continuing. Consequently, we've also got him reporting that now Ukraine is all of a sudden strong again and taking back certain areas that were under Russian control. Talking about target hits, what is not being said is it's not Ukrainians that are making these hits. It's now these new troops from NATO and a lot of United States weaponry. So with this, Putin is no idiot. He basically knows what's going on, and they're gathering all of the weaponry is basically provided by the United States and Western NATO, basically. So with this, we're going to keep an eye on that because that's basically all of the funding. So with this, we're going to keep an eye on all of these things. Careful if you're trading today in the markets. It's green on the up and but could shift with all of these things in the back end. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.